My Baby Mama, Part 5. A Story by Obie's Heart. Few days to the Okoye family's traditional ceremony, Dr. Obie went to visit Chik and Madame Okoye. I am really sorry for what I am about to tell you too. Omar and her family are very dangerous. I chose to come today, because I know she went to visit her mother. Chik wheeled his wheelchair closer to Dr. Obie, and asked impatiently, "What are you trying to say? Did something happen? What is going on?" What I am about to tell you might end my medical profession, but I will say it anyway. Since my wife has forgiven me, I don't care what anyone does to me. Madame Okoye and Chik looked at themselves and simultaneously shouted, "Can you say what the problem is?" Dr. Obie started shedding tears saying, "The twins are not yours, they are not Okoye's." Chik shouted, "What?" Madame Okoye told Dr. Obie to shut up, that he doesn't know what he is saying. Dr. Obie went on his knees and continued, "The child is not hers as well." Both Madame Okoye and Chik screamed, "What?" You see, Omar does not have a womb, so she captured a mad woman. She and her family rented a flat for her. Dr. Obie told them everything. By the time he was done, Chik was weeping like a child. The only question he could ask was, "Are you saying that my baby's mama is a mad woman? So the twins does not belong to me and I can't even father a child again?" He asked repeatedly with a teary voice. Madame Okoye was in shock, she started gasping for air and fainted. Dr. Obie rushed to resuscitate her. Dr. Obie spent almost the whole day with them. On his way out, he saw Omar driving in, he rushed to her car and flagged her down. "I just told them all your atrocities. If I were you, I would turn around and run." Omar laughing heartily, "Run? Why should I run? I think the game just became more interesting. You think I don't know you will sell us out at some point? Why do you think Chik is impotent? It is for situations like now, they need me now more than they think. Else I will tell the rest of the Okoyes, and Chik will be disinherited, because he does not have a child and can't even get one." She zoomed off to the parking lot before Dr. Obie could talk. The shock and surprise made Dr. Obie cry again. "How can I allow this Jezebel use me to run down this family that have been so good to me down?" He shook his head and drove off. Omar started clapping immediately she entered the parlor and saw Madame Okoye sitting on the ground and Chik looking like he had seen a ghost. "Now that you have known everything, can you call off your so-called Okoye traditional ceremony to avoid disgrace?" she said, laughing so hard. "Or would you like the other Okoyes to find out and disinherit Chik? Okay, you will prefer I make it public to the press. And the headline will read, 'The Okoyes take advantage of a mad woman on the street.' Or we could just forget about everything and say to hell with the Okoyes not raising another man's child, and let the twins claim what is rightfully theirs. Choose wisely, because either way, I will still win, I have absolutely nothing to lose." She laughed again and went into her room. Madame Okoye got up and went to sleep. The heartbreak was so much that she cried herself to sleep. Chik spent the night at the bar in their mansion. He drank until morning. Madame Okoye spent 2 days in her room without coming out. Chik would knock every hour, begging her to please come out. Omar was so happy that she had one. She was constantly on the phone with her mother, boasting about how she will paint the whole state red with the blood of the Okoyes, if they dared her. 1 week later, Madame Okoye drove out of her house for the first time since she learned the truth. Omar was laughing at her when she came out. She didn't even want her driver to drive her. She went straight to the oldest Okoye's resident. When she got there, she fell on the ground and cried. The old man allowed her to cry. When she was done crying, she cleaned her face and narrated everything to her uncle, who is also the head of the Okoye family, since he was the oldest. The man cleared his throat and said, "Is that all that is making you sad? We the Okoyes love ourselves too much to allow a riffraff from the gutters to tear us apart. We have a solution to impotency in our lineage. We have always known that everyone may not be fertile. So in a case where a male Okoye is unable to bear children, his wife will be impregnated by another male Okoye. In the case where a female Okoye is not able to bear children also, She can marry a younger woman for herself and any male Okoye can get her pregnant. Then the child will become the woman's child. In this Chik's case, since he cannot father a child anymore, let him marry and my son will father his children. Madame Okoye was so relieved. She has never heard this part of their tradition. She started ranting about throwing Omar and her bastards out of her house immediately. But her uncle gave her a priceless advice. Do not send her away yet. Make her believe she had one. Play her game with her. We will secretly marry a wife for Chik. She will stay in another city, bearing children for Chik. Let Omar believe you do not want the rest of the Okoyes to find out. If you don't tread carefully, she might go to the press and damage the Okoye family's name, and this might affect our businesses. From today onwards, send an investigator after her, to gather enough evidence that will counter her lies when she goes public with it. As for the ceremony, we will shift it until this case is over. This is why I always tell you the younger Okoyes, there are some kind of people we marry, people in our class. In your own case, you wanted to marry a poor person, so that you can turn her to a slave and baby-making machine. This advice made Madame Okoye to sit down and rethink her actions. You are very right, uncle. I was so foolish to think like that. Anyway, we will teach her a lesson, and show her that the Okoyes do not forsake their own.